Banner review April 21. And this goes for a week, so April 21 till April 28. Alright, we're just gonna blitz through this. So Focus A has Bastet and Piranha. Focus B is Zenyi with Mitternacht. Let's take a look at the off rates. Focus A off rates generally pretty good, right? Key of Radiance, it's pretty recent. Well, 2 years now. It's probably one of the better pistols when it comes to placeholder weapons. Of course, this is for Flame Scion, and if you don't have Flame Scion at this point, hopefully she'll become farmable in the near future. I would probably still hang on to one copy of Key of Radiance, but I probably wouldn't upgrade it until you get Flame Scion. Yeah, the Collapse still has some niche utility, definitely worth hanging on to at least one copy of. Good on Haxor Bunny for fighting quantum types, especially when supporting your ice teams. We used to use that quite a bit on Memorial Arena Cosmo. But outside of that, it's a utility weapon. I would hang on to it just for utility. If you have duplicates, you probably will need to convert it to Taurus. Basilisk Image, great for Mobius. Decent placeholder for everybody else. I'd hang on to it if it's just the first copy. Dupes you can probably get rid of one way or another. Now generally when it comes to dupes of weapons, either using them as a base for alternative pry-arms of the same weapon type or converting to Taurus is generally what most players will recommend. You only ever salvage them for cubes or cube shards as it is now. Only when you're overflowing on Taurus, or like you have so many weapon dupes that you can't get rid of them all for Taurus in one go. So generally it's kind of like a late stage problem or a whale problem. Fist, Nebulous Duality. So Nebulous Duality is still quite nice as an all-around placeholder for Fist users, even if you're not running HOS, or nowadays AE is a bit depreciated. Nebulous Duality is available in Exchange Shop, but I definitely say that if you can get your first copy as an off rate, it's not a bad thing, just because you can't really control what shows up in Exchange Shop, and it's quite expensive in Exchange Shop. Game music's a little loud, let me turn everything down. I turned everything up because I wasn't sure. Focus A. Path Acheron, same thing. It's old meta, but I would hang on to it for the first copy. Mitternacht's Waltz, great for official. That's her signature weapon. And then Piranha, one of the best chakram weapon of the weapon type. Best weapon of the weapon type, because it's just useful on everybody as a placeholder in addition to being that Pardo's signature weapon. How's the audio balance now? Is it better? Can you hear me now, Terrence? Okay. Stigmata, Bastet, quite good for Pardo. 2-piece is really what you need minimum, but there's a few instances where the 3-set does help for extended freeze on Abyss Hephaestus, etc. Or if you just want the comfort of having just more team SP with the B-piece. A lot of times the B-piece does get substituted out, but still better to have the 3-piece than not to have it when you need it. A lot of times the B-piece gets substituted with Cezanne or Newton B. Zenyi still quite decent for lightning, and that is the next banner down. Ana Shariak is craftable as a G3, but the farming time is long, so if you don't already have a set, getting Ana from off rates will help you speed up your G4 crafting. And then Wings of Reason, Bronya next. It's mostly for Silver Wing, but the M piece is a bit depreciated because people have figured out, even back in 6.3, that Bronya's HM is stronger for all Bronya battle suits, especially for Silverwing. So probably one of the less desirable off-rate Stigmata in this particular pool. And then Handle, it is craftable as a Lightning G4, but it is also nice if you can off-rate 1 or 2 pieces to help speed up your farming time if you don't already own a set. So in terms of recent stuff, in terms of useful stuff, this banner's okay. Probably like a B minus-ish. I'd say at this point, this banner is fairly skippable unless you have the means to afford topping up for it. If you can manage to just get the weapon early, that's probably good enough. Getting top and mid pieces off Bastet is probably also a decent stopping point. What I would also say is that this particular banner is probably more useful for the Wishing Well, because I know a lot of players maybe got a lot of Bastet duplicates or off rates from 6.4 during the trio release, because Bastet was heavily featured in the finality off rates. So maybe you have like 2 tops and 2 mids, and you Wishing Well your duplicates for a B piece. Or maybe you have like 3 bottoms and like 2 tops but no mid piece, so you can Wishing Well one of your bottom, you just Wishing Well your duplicates to complete the set. That's kind of where the value of this banner really lies in my opinion, is being able to use the Wishing Well. The off rates are kind of okay, but like for most longtime players, you probably have seen the stuff from the off rates at one point or another. Focus Supply B, we're probably going to see a lot of older off rates. So the set itself is still quite nice. Top and bottom is itself already very strong, and then the 3 set is also pretty strong, especially on official. Already I'm looking at the weapon and it's like all old metal weapons. So Talwar is definitely a collection piece. There's some utility for triple S whale players, like Kraken players. You'll need Talwar. I think it was like one of the imaginary flower husks that came up in the last patch or so. One of the strats for triple S used Talwar. Outside of that, I'd say for average players, you probably won't need Talwar. Key of Reason is in Exchange Shop and it's old meta. There is some sim battle utility if you're into cap scoring sim battle, so it's not entirely useless. I'd say for the average player, you probably are better off getting the Divine Key, the Star of Eden anti-entropy for Hersher of Reason. But Key of Reason, I've found it to be a decent placeholder cannon for most Bronyas, especially if you're free to play, right? I've used Key of Reason on, well, Domain of Reason I've used on my Haxor Bunny on the NA account. I've used Domain of Reason as kind of the placeholder. Did I use it on HTR? Or no, because at that point I already had Star of Eden on the NA account. Well, Key of Reason, Domain of Reason, there's still some freeze trauma. So I'd say like if you are on a very, very new account, it's still a decent weapon for progression. But I feel like the majority of players have already outclassed what Key of Reason provides. Swan Lake, I think, has been pretty accessible from a lot of weapon option boxes as well for most players. So Swan Lake is kind of interesting in that it's actually an impair weapon, which is kind of useful for progression. But you, with the way leveling works now, and you kind of blast through the levels where you could be using it very quickly, having that weapon for impaired doesn't really make a difference because you just outgrow it so fast. But having Swan Lake does enable you to craft Sleeper's Dream later on. Now, it's also a very expensive investment in terms of resources versus what you get out of it nowadays. You know, 2 years ago, we would have been like, oh yeah, get Sleeper's Dream, you know, Delta's the best physical DPS possible. But that time has come and gone, so also it's another museum piece. 11th Sacred Relic, you can get it from the exchange shop, another museum piece. Nuada's Grief, if you're a Fuhua fan, you'll want this one, but outside of being a Fuhua fan, Nuada's Grief is also kind of like... You can find it in the exchange shop if you really want to collect it. It's great for Hawk of the Fog and Shadow Knight. So like maybe if you're a Shadow Knight Elysian Realm main, it'll be of interest to you, but you know, pretty standard for Focus B, right? A lot of old meta stuff. Like all the weapons are old meta. So out of all the weapons, out of the 7 weapons, the only one that's worthwhile is the uprate one. So if you're rolling on Focus B at this point, chances are you're digging in Focus B for some kind of collection piece. When we look at the Stigmata, Holmes really stands out, right? So Zenyi's what you're looking for. Zenyi's kind of between a G3 and a G4, very much like a G3.5, but very powerful in terms of the lightning buffs that it provides. Dickens is fully craftable, and it's never a set that you necessarily go out of your way to try to obtain. If you do get it as an off rate from this banner, it's okay for placeholder when you're an early game account. The value drops off pretty fast as you eventually get better stuff. Now Holmes is really good. Holmes is probably the best off rate from this pool, especially now that Susanna is the promoted battle suit this patch. Hey Rosie. New camera? No, it's the same camera. I'm just zoomed in. Elysia, craftable, but if you can get an off rate, you can speed up the crafting, like most other sets that we find in the off rates that are craftable. And then Shakespeare Adrift. This is more or less for just Dea Encore, really. We've seen some trick strategies that use the Ignite on Ultimate from the 2 set on Lilia, but a lot of those strats have also been depreciated as other things slowly replaced that style of strategy. This is definitely a D tier banner in terms of modern meta, but you know, maybe for collectors this is like you're just trying to look for old weapons. I would not recommend anybody roll on this, even on my free, especially not if you're free to play. If you're free to play, you should be saving for next patch. That pretty much covers it. Everything else was covered in a previous video, right? Susanna gear, Susanna herself. Oh, reverse. We talked about H2O last time. I guess the ADV banner is over now. And then the outfit supply. Don't forget to do your free pull on your outfit supply, though. I think that's always something that most players forget. You do get your first pull for free. So, like, you know, free real estate. If you get Asterite or Stamina Potions or even, you know, Willpower, it's not a bad deal. It's free. Free real estate. I still need to do that roll on my NA account, actually. But yeah, that about concludes banner review for this week. Very simple stuff. If you're not sure, just save. Just save. Straightforward. If you're not sure, just skip all this and save for next patch. Alright, that's it. Good luck, captains.